All set.
Hello, you may be seated. This is the time set for the 8 p.m. initial appearance calendar for March 3rd, 2025. The court's orders for the taking of fingerprints and DNA samples made on the 1st of this month will apply to all matters on this calendar. I am going to be calling each of you up to the podium one by one, where I will ask you for your first and last name and your date of birth. I will then advise you as to why you are here, whether or not an attorney has been appointed to represent you, what your upcoming court dates will be, what your bond is if you are eligible for bond, and what your release conditions are. During the time that I'm advising you, you may have some questions. I would just ask that you hold your questions until I finish that advisement. So the first person that I'm going to call to the podium is Brianna Jones, and Ms. Perez, if you will please have a seat in the chair. No, have a seat in the chair. In the chair? No.
Right.
Hello. Can you state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Brianna Jones, 4/7/2000.
You were here on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of possession of a narcotic drug, a Class 4 felony, and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I did find probable cause as to both counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You will have a status conference hearing on March 7th at 8:30, and then a preliminary hearing on March 12th at 8:30. Because you were on felony release at the time that this alleged offense occurred, you're not eligible for bond today. So I did set an evidentiary hearing for March 10th at 1:30 to address that issue. So that takes care of everything that we can do here this evening. If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you. Ms. Perez, if you will please come into the courtroom. And just so everybody will know, for the deputy and Karina, I'm going to move number 11 to the bottom. Okay. So Ms. Pulaski, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. If you will please have a seat in the chair. Ma'am, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Julie Perez, January 23rd, 1974.
You were here on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument, a Class 3 felony. I did find probable cause as to that offense. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference on March 10th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 12th at 8:30. You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $25,000. If you are able to post bond, you'll be released to pretrial services on electronic monitoring. You will not be permitted to have contact with the alleged victim, possess any weapons. If there are any orders of protection or order against harassment that are issued, you must obey the terms of those orders. You cannot reside at the same location as the alleged victim, even if you are the owner or renter of the residence. You will be permitted one civil standby with law enforcement to assist you in collecting your essential belongings. If you violate the no victim contact order in this case, you could be charged with aggravated harassment, which is a Class 6 felony. Failure to comply with your release conditions or to appear for your court dates could result in any bond that you posted being forfeited, a warrant being issued for your arrest, and additional bond being imposed. That takes care of everything that we can do here this evening.
Can I ask a question? I have to pay $25,000 to get out of jail?
10% of $25,000.
Is there anything I can you please lower it, please? If by any chance, I haven't been in trouble for over 20 years. Please.
It's the nature. I'm going to explain to you why the bond is what it is.
Okay.
I made a probable cause finding on certain facts surrounding how you were charged. It was a very serious crime and very dangerous crime. So I'm concerned about the safety of the victim in the community, as well as generally the community at large, based on what I reviewed and made a probable cause finding. For your information, 10% of 25,000 is $2,500 plus collateral. I know that they have information back there regarding contacting a bail bondsman on how to get bond, but that is the reason for why the bond is set the way that it is. And I'm not inclined to lower it. I'm not.
Okay. So, and I have to stay in jail until that is paid?
Well, you will have a status conference hearing. You will, if you can't pay it, you will be in jail until at least March 10th, at which time you would be in front of another judicial officer, and it would be up to them to decide if they want to modify the bond or keep it as it is.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
Thank you. Ms. Pawashkai, if you will please come into the courtroom, and Mr. Soto, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Heather Peshlikai is 06/28/1990.
You were here on a new case. You were charged with one count of aggravated assault, a class 4 felony, and one count of assault with an intent to injure, a class 1 misdemeanor. I did find probable cause as to both counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on March 10th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 12th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $15,000. If you are able to post bond, you'll be released to pretrial services, which will include electronic monitoring. You cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime. You cannot initiate any contact with the alleged victim. You cannot possess any weapons, and if there are any orders of protection or orders against harassment that are issued, you must abide by the terms of those orders. You cannot reside at the same location as the alleged victim. You will be permitted one civil standby with law enforcement to assist you in collecting your essential belongings. If you violate the no victim contact order in this case, you could be charged with aggravated harassment, which is a class 6 felony. Failure to comply with your release conditions or to appear for your court dates will result in any bond posted being forfeited, a warrant being issued for your arrest, and additional bond being imposed. So that takes care of everything that I have to advise you of this evening. If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
Thank you.
Mr. Soto, if you will please come into the courtroom, and Mr. Bachelor, if you will please have a seat in the chair.
Hello,
Hello, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Jonathan Ulysses Soto, 4694.
You are here on a new case. You were charged with one count of burglary in the 3rd degree, an unlawful injury, a class 4 felony, and one count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a class 6 felony. I did find probable cause as to both counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on March 10th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 12th at 8:30. You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,000. If you are able to post bond, you cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime. You cannot initiate any contact with the alleged victim. Failure to comply with your release conditions or to appear for your court dates would result in any bond posted being forfeited, a warrant being issued for your arrest, and additional bond being imposed. So that takes care of everything that I have to advise you of this evening. If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Mr. Bachelor, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Stewart, will you please have a seat in the chair? Hello, sir. Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Ryan Michelle Bachelor, August 21st, 94.
You were here today because you have 4 matters. You have 2 violations of probation, 1 new case, and 1 warrant for failing to appear for a court date. I'm going to first talk to you about your new case. You were charged with 1 count of possession of a narcotic drug for sale, a class 2 felony, 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a class 6 felony, 1 count of resisting arrest, risk of physical injury, a class 6 felony, and 2 counts of possession of narcotic drugs for use, a class 3 misdemeanor. I did not find probable cause as to the possession of narcotic drug for sale and the 2 counts of narcotic drugs possession for use. I did find probable cause as to the possession of drug paraphernalia and resisting arrest. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You do have a status conference hearing on March 10th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 12th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $3,500. If you're able to post bond, you do need to attend your court dates. I believe you also will need to contact your probation officer within 72 hours of your release. As to your violations of probation, I did appoint an attorney to represent you in those matters. You'll have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500 per case. So you would have a total secured appearance bond as to your probation matters in the amount of $1,000. And then for your failure to appear, your warrant for failing to appear, an attorney was already appointed to you in that matter. You will have a non-witness violation hearing as well as a possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. And you have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500 for that case. So between all four of your cases, you have a total bond of $4,000 secured appearance. You must appear for your court dates. If you fail to do so, any bond posted would be forfeited. A warrant would be issued for your arrest, and you'd be subject to additional bond. So that takes care of everything that we have to talk about this evening. If you will please step to your left, officer will give you your paperwork.
No, do you think putting the court dates at the same time is going to affect each other?
Some of your court dates are set at the same time already.
Yeah, I know. Last time I did that, when I went to court, it was just they said that they come back and they did combine the cases, you know.
Well,
So I didn't know.
I don't do that scheduling. So what's all set at the same time are all your probation cases. Those are all set on March 10th. And I don't know how those will be resolved. And then with your new case, it depends on how you want to proceed with that. So I can't speak on that. You haven't spoken to your attorney yet to see what are your potential options and outcomes.
So with the new case, when I go to court for the new case, I'm going to go to court for the probation thing at the same time.
So you'll have a status conference hearing on March 10th at 8:30. And at that same time, you will also have your probation revocation possible disposition hearing on your probation matters.
But isn't the probation court separate from the other court?
It depends on who's doing what and
Well,
when.
whenever they take us from the jail, they send us underground to the courthouse. But the regular court is upstairs on
So
the
I
second
believe
floor.
that they will take, because what I understand is that it's just basically a cattle call, right, for all of them. So I'm not sure if they will, like, once you're finished in one courtroom with one matter, then they will take you into another courtroom for another matter. If something needs to happen where things need to change, your attorney can also file a motion for that to happen. But these are how your court dates are set
I
right
figured we
now.
could handle it right here, you know what I'm saying? We can
This
just
is not the
schedule
court to
it.
do that. This
Okay,
is not the court to do that.
for sure, yeah,
Okay, thank
that
you.
makes sense.
Mr. Hughes, will you please, I'm so sorry, Mr. Stewart, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Hughes, will you please have a seat in the chair?
Hey, how you doing today?
Good. Can you please state your first last name and your date of birth?
Albert Lamarck, lawyer Stewart, 03/18/1989.
So you were here today because you have one new case, and then you have 3 violations of probation.
I didn't even receive any violations of
So
probation.
the reason why your probation was violated is because of the new case.
Okay, can I point something out?
No, you cannot. You do remember what I said at the beginning of this, that I just let me advise you of everything first, and then any
Okay.
questions that you have afterwards, just hold them until I advise you of everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Because your question may get answered. So let's first talk about your new case. You were charged with 1 count of narcotic drugs, possession of narcotic drugs for use, class 4 felony, 1 count of resisting arrest, a class 6 felony, 1 count of obstruction or refusal to give a true name, a class 1 misdemeanor, and 1 count of criminal trespass, a class 3 misdemeanor. I did not find probable cause as to the possession of the narcotic drugs, but I did find probable cause as to the remaining charges. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You do have a status conference hearing on March 10th at 8:30. You do have a preliminary hearing on March 12th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,000 in this matter. and you will need to contact your probation officer within 24 hours of your release. Then, as to your violations of probation, I did appoint an attorney to represent you in those matters. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. Per violation of probation, which are 3, you have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $250. So between the 4 cases, your total secured appearance bond is $1,750.
Wait, what? I thought you just told me I had $1,000 in
For the first case.
Oh, so each violation was a different,
You have a bond for
Okay.
each one.
all right.
So your total bond between all 4 cases in
Okay.
total is $1,750, secured appearance. If you are able to postpone, make sure that you do contact your probation officer upon your release and that you appear for your court dates. If you fail to appear for your court dates, any bond posted will be forfeited, a warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. Now, I would just advise you not to speak on your case itself. I did appoint an attorney.
No, my rights have been violated. I was never read my Miranda rights, nor
That
during.
is something that you would raise, that your attorney, there's a procedure for that. That's not what happens here.
Bruh, so, okay, listen, I'm being charged with some shit I ain't even do.
So first of all, I'm not gonna listen to you
sorry
if you're
for
not gonna
cursing.
be respectful to the
I
court.
apologize for cursing. I am being charged with some things that I ain't even do. You can go back up over there, bro. You know what I'm saying? I already apologize. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Thank you. You know what I mean? So
I think that you're not understanding. So can I just explain to you the process and where you're
cause
at?
I don't get it. Like I'm sitting up
Well,
here.
you're making an argument right now and you don't have an attorney in front of you. Today, you have not been found guilty of anything.
Technically, I have. I'm in jail.
You have not been found guilty of anything. in the
Okay,
court of
so
law.
then
So if you want to argue with me, I'm not going to do that.
I don't want to argue. I'm trying to get information.
But
I don't want to
as
argue
I'm
with you
trying
now.
I'm trying to explain to you the process in order to protect your rights, but you're talking over me. You're not really interested in hearing what I have to say. And so when those types of situations occur, I do not engage in them. So if you want me to explain where you're at between the 4 cases, I'm happy to do that. If you're not interested in hearing that and you just want to say what you want to say, it's not going to change anything. And so we can stop right now. So which would you like to do?
Can you please explain?
So today on your first case, it's your new case. You haven't been found guilty of anything. I've made a probable cause finding. That means that today I found the allegations to be more likely to be true than not. As a result, I have appointed an attorney to represent you. Once you meet with your attorney, whatever objections or any legal defenses that you want to make, there is a process that must occur, and that's why you have an attorney to do that. Today, we are not a court of record. It's not a court of evidence. I'm just telling you why you were here. That's it. So, and as far as your violations of probation, your terms of probation indicate like certain things that you have to do. And when you generate a new case, is an automatic violation of your probation. And I know that your probation officer went over the terms of your probation and what the expectations are, because I reviewed those notes.
Right.
So that's why you have the violations of probation.
Okay.
So that's pretty much all we have to talk about now.
I got one more thing, if you don't mind. I'm not
Make
trying
it quick.
Okay, so you're charging me with a bail of
I
17.
didn't charge you.
Okay, I'm being placed on a bail, a secured appearance bond of $1,700, whatever, $1,750. You know what I mean? Isn't it true that the law states that bail has to be attainable for people, no matter what the situation? So if I don't have $1,700, you're not making the bail attainable for me. You're putting it beyond my reach.
It's 10%.
You're putting it beyond my reach.
10. That is not what the law says. It has to be
That's what it says.
reasonable.
Thank you.
And Mr. Hughes, will you please come into the courtroom? Sir, will you please state your first, last name, and your date of birth?
Jonathan Hughes, April 24th, 1998.
Thank you. You were here today because a warrant was issued when you failed to appear for a court date. An attorney was already appointed to represent you in this matter. You will have a status conference hearing on March 10th at 8:30. You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $350. If you're able to post bond, you do need to attend your court date. If you fail to attend your court date, another warrant will be issued for your arrest and an additional bond would be ordered. That takes care of everything that we can do here this evening. If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Mr. Tessman, if you will please come into the courtroom, and Ms. Boyd, if you will please have a seat in the chair. Mr. Tessman? Look, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Derek Tessman, March 2nd, 1982.
Thank you. You are here today because you have 2 violations of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of, for one of the matters in the amount of, it's a cash bond of $50. In the second matter, you have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. If you are able to post your bond, you do need to make sure that you appear for your court date. If you fail to appear, a warrant could be issued for your arrest. The bond that you posted would be forfeited. So that takes care of everything that we have to do here today. If you'll please step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you.
Boyd, right? Boyd.
Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Sally Lloyd, 11/23/1994.
You were here today for a violation of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $750. If you are able to post bond, you do need to make sure that you appear for your court date. If you fail to appear for your court date, any bond posted will be forfeited. A warrant will be issued for your arrest and additional bond would likely be imposed. So that takes care of everything that we can do here this evening. If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you. Ms. Ford, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Frausto, will you please have a seat in the chair? Hello, ma'am. Will you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Catherine Ford, 4/18/88.
You are here today because you have 3 violations of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in all 3 matters. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. On your first warrant, you have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $100. On your second warrant, you have a bond in the amount of $200. And on your third warrant, you have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $200. So your total bond between the 3 cases is $500 secured appearance.
Is that cash all?
Secured appearance,
What does that mean?
10%.
Okay.
So if you're able to post bond, you do need to make sure that you attend your court date. If you fail to attend your court date, any bond that you posted will be forfeited. Another warrant would be issued for your arrest and you'd be subject to additional bond.
Yes,
So that takes care of everything that we have to talk about right now. If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Frausto, if you will please come into the courtroom, and Mr. Millward, if you will please have a seat in the chair. Hello, can you
Hello.
state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Adrian Frosto, 11/16/1995.
Oh, man. Jones. Perez.
Sir, you are here today because you have two warrants, and they're both out of Apache Junction Justice Court. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You do have an arraignment hearing on March 6th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $256 per case, so your total bond is $512 between the two warrants. If you are able to post bond, it is important that you do attend your court date. If you fail to attend your court date, any bond that you posted would be forfeited. Another warrant would be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. So that takes care of everything that we have to do here this evening. If you will step to your left, the officers will give you your paperwork.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Because I just got released from prison on February 5th, and I'm looking at the warrants, and the latest one is from, I believe, October of last year. And, so when I was released, I wasn't told I had any warrants or anything, or else I would have tried to clear them up. So,
Well, I don't have any, your warrants are out of county, so I don't have access to any of your information. And I'm not sure what happened with DOC and not advising you of those warrants, but these are still active warrants, and the date of the warrants when they were issued was October 21st, 2024.
So I couldn't be released on my own recognizance. I would have to pay
I
a bond.
cannot, because these are out of county warrants, so I have to affirm those orders from that county.
Okay.
Sorry, if you will step to your left, officer, we'll give you your paperwork. Mr. Millward, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Paris, will you please have a seat in the chair? Oh, sir, what is your first and last name and your date of birth?
John Millward, age 67.
Thank you. You are here today on a new case. You were charged with one count of possession of a dangerous drug, a class 4 felony, and possession of drug paraphernalia. I did find probable cause as to both counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You will have a status conference hearing on March 18th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 20th at 8:30. I intend to release you on your own recognizance today. You do have to promise to appear for your court date. Do you promise to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
If you fail to appear for your court date, a warrant will be issued for your arrest and a bond would be imposed. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you'll step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Mr. Paris, will you please come into the courtroom? And Miss Shirley, if you will please have a seat in the chair. Hello, can you state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Brody Paris, 26 September 2002.
You were here on a new case. You were charged with one count of criminal trespass, a class 6 felony. I did find probable cause as to that count. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on March 18th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 20th at 8:30. I intend to release you to pretrial services, but you do have to promise to appear for your court date. Do you promise to appear?
Yes, Your Honor. What does that mean? Pretrial services?
So you're going to be released to pretrial services. A bond will not be imposed. There'll be certain release conditions or check-ins with pretrial services to make sure that you are fine in the community.
Yes, Your Honor. So do I get to go home? I'm confused.
Yes, I'm not
Okay.
ordering a bond.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? But you do have to comply with your release conditions, and you must appear for your court date.
Yes, Your
If
Honor.
you fail to comply with your release conditions or you fail to appear for your court date, a warrant will be issued for your arrest and a bond will be imposed, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, if you'll step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
Thank you.
Ms. Shirley, will you please come into the courtroom? Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Lorraine Shirley, 9/27/1958.
You are here today because you have a warrant out of the Encanto Justice Court. Due to the nature of the charge, you are not entitled to court-appointed counsel. You will have an arraignment hearing on March 20th at 1:30. I am inclined to release you on your own recognizance today. You do have to promise to appear for your court date. Do you promise to appear? Do you not understand what I'm saying to you?
I can't hear you.
Do you need something to help you here? Because we have a device.
I don't know if the volume is on, but I can't hear you.
So we have headphones to help her.
I can't even hear her at all.
Can you hear me?
I can hear her really good out there, but not in here.
Step away from just step back a little bit. Just step back. Okay, let's put the headphones on. Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna start from the beginning just to make sure that you heard everything, okay? So you were here because there is a warrant out of Encanto Justice Court. Due to the nature of the offense, you are not entitled to court-appointed counsel. You do have an arraignment hearing on March 20th at 1:30. My intention is to release you on your own recognizance today, but you do have to promise to appear for your court date. Do you promise to appear for your court date?
Yes.
If you fail to appear for your court date, another warrant will be issued for your arrest, and there will be a bond and it will be imposed. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're done. The officer will give you your paperwork. You just have to keep the headphones off.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
When they brought me from the Glendale Police Department, they said that I had a $250 bond.
I'm not imposing that today. I'm giving you a chance to go to court and take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Can the interpreter hear the court? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, will you please come to the podium?
Señor López, ¿puede pasar al podio, por favor?
Sí, buenas noches, oiga.
Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Mi nombre
Por
es
favor,
Jaime
decir su
López.
nombre y apellido y fecha de nacimiento.
Es Jaime López Jr. y 11/18 de 1987.
Jaime López Jr., 11/18/1987.
You are here today because a warrant was, I'm so sorry, no. You are here today because A warrant was issued because you failed to appear for your court date.
Está usted aquí el día de hoy porque se extendió una orden para arrestarlo por haber faltado a la audiencia que tenía programada en la corte.
Oiga, la verdad es que yo no sé.
An attorney was already appointed to represent you in this matter.
Ya se le ha asignado a un abogado para que lo represente en este asunto.
You have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30.
Va a tener usted su audiencia de disposición probable el 10 de marzo a las 8:30.
You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500.
Usted va a tener una fianza asegurada de 500 en la cantidad de $500.
If you are able to post bond, you need to make sure that you attend your court date.
Si puede usted pagar la fianza, nada más asegúrese de que puede usted asistir a la audiencia que se le tiene programada.
If you fail to appear for your court date, any bond posted will be forfeited.
Si usted no se presenta a la audiencia de la fecha programada, la fianza que pagó le será confiscada.
A warrant will be issued for your arrest.
Emitirá una orden para su arresto
And additional bond would be imposed.
y se le impondrá una fianza adicional.
That took care of everything that we have to do here this evening.
Con eso ya terminamos todo lo que teníamos que hacer aquí esta noche.
If you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
Si quiere pasar usted ahí a su izquierda, el oficial le va a entregar toda su documentación.
Okay, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Interpreter, you may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for using our services. Have a good rest of your night. Goodbye.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, if you will please come to the courtroom. Hello, sir. Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Rod Wilson, 122694.
You are here as a fugitive of justice. You do have the right to an extradition hearing. You are entitled to bond in this case. In your instance, the warrant has a bond, a cash bond in the amount of $2 million. You have the right to hire an attorney at your own expense. Extradition does require a warrant to be signed by both the governor here in Arizona and the governor in Florida. That process can take between 60 and 90 days to complete. You also have the option of waiving an extradition hearing. If you choose to do that, you would not be entitled to bond. Florida would have 30 days from tomorrow to come pick you up, but that's only if you do not have any local charges pending. If you have any local charges pending, the 30 days would not begin until those matters were resolved. Did you have an opportunity to review the paperwork regarding your rights and regarding extradition?
I was just gonna wait to get a lawyer or something. So
An attorney does not, one is not appointed to you, you would have to hire one.
Yeah,
at your own expense. Okay. So are you wishing to, you're not waiving your rights at this time, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you will have a fugitive from justice initial hearing on March 17th at 1:30. You do have, according to the bond, you have a cash-only appearance bond in the amount of $2 million.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just double checking that, but yeah, so it is $2 million cash only, the warrant. So I guess you will talk to your lawyer, see how you will how you are going to proceed, but, I think that takes care of everything that we have to do here today with understanding that. So did we print out his order?
I'm printing it now.
Okay, so if you go ahead and go back into the room, we're going to bring your order to you. Michael Torres, date of birth, February 24th, 1989, is here for a violation of probation. He is not present in court because he is unable to function at this time. I did appoint an attorney to represent him. He will have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on March 10th at 8:30. He does have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $100. He will be advised that if he posts bond, that he will need to appear for his court date. Failure to do so would result in the bond being forfeited, a warrant being issued for his arrest, and additional bond being imposed. I am going to talk to Mr. Torres. If any changes are needed, I will do so either on the record or in writing. This concludes the 8 p.m. initial appearance calendar, and we stand in recess until 11 p.m.